Most people say they want a different life, more freedom, more money, more peace of mind. They imagine waking up in a different environment, a different house, a different routine, a different set of opportunities, but there is something they rarely consider. The life they want does not belong to the person they are today. It belongs to a different version of them, a version with different habits, different discipline, different standards, and until that version of you begins to emerge, the life you imagine will always remain just outside your reach. Because the truth is simple. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are prepared to sustain. And preparation begins with transformation. Most people approach change the wrong way. They try to add new goals to an old identity. They say they want success, but they still negotiate with laziness. They say they want freedom, but they still cling to the comfort of familiar routines. They say they want a different future, but they refuse to release the behaviors that created their present. So they attempt to build a new life while carrying the same habits that built the old one. And slowly, almost invisibly, those habits pull them back to where they started. This is why so many people feel as though progress never lasts. They make a burst of effort. They change for a few weeks. They imagine they are becoming someone new. But the deeper patterns of who they are have not actually changed. And when the initial excitement fades, the old identity quietly takes control again. The old routines return, the old excuses appear, the old limits begin to feel familiar. And before long, the person who was briefly trying to grow disappears back into the version that feels comfortable. Real transformation works differently. It does not begin with outcomes. It begins with identity. There is always another version of you waiting just beyond your current habits. A version that wakes earlier, a version that follows through on commitments, a version that does not delay difficult decisions, a version that moves with discipline rather than emotion. This version of you is not imaginary. It already exists as a possibility. But possibility alone is not enough. It must be practiced. It must be repeated. And eventually, it must replace the identity that currently defines your life. This is where most people hesitate, because becoming a different person requires letting go of the comfort of the old one. It means saying goodbye to behaviors that once felt normal. It means raising your standards in ways that feel unfamiliar at first. And it means accepting that growth often happens quietly, without applause or immediate reward. But this quiet period is where the real shift takes place. Every disciplined action is a vote for the person you are becoming. Every time you choose focus over distraction, you strengthen that identity. Every time you keep a promise you made to yourself, you move further away from the version of you that once hesitated. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, the transformation begins to take hold. Your thoughts change, your expectations rise, your tolerance for wasted time begins to shrink. The things that once felt difficult start to feel normal, and the person you once imagined becoming starts to feel like the natural direction of your life. This is the point where your external world begins to respond. Opportunities appear that you were not ready for before. Conversations shift. Your environment begins to reflect the standards you now carry within yourself. Not because the world suddenly changed, but because you did. The life you wanted was never waiting somewhere far away. It was always waiting for the version of you capable of holding it. And the moment that version of you begins to lead your actions, the path forward becomes clearer. This is why discipline matters so much. Discipline is not punishment. It is the bridge between who you are and who you could become. Every consistent action strengthens the new identity you are building. Every repeated habit makes that identity more stable. Until one day, you realize something has shifted. The behaviors that once required effort now feel natural. The focus you once struggled to maintain now feels steady. And the life you once imagined from a distance now begins to look familiar. Not because it was given to you, but because you became the person capable of creating it. So if you want a different life, do not start by chasing different results. Start by becoming a different version of yourself. Raise your standards, strengthen your discipline, protect your focus. And step by step, action by action, allow the old identity to fade. Because the future you want is not waiting somewhere ahead of you. It is waiting inside the person you are willing to become. And once that transformation begins, the path forward becomes impossible to ignore. The life you want requires a different version of you. So the real question is not whether that life exists. The real question is whether you are ready to become the person it belongs to.